Have you ever stopped running from the Xenomorph long enough to think, I wonder what I look like to that creature? How does it see the world? Obviously right before you were violently attacked and dragged off for implantation by a facehugger. Well, I have, and today that's exactly what we will be exploring. The Xenomorph vision is briefly covered in parts of the Alien universe, with the topic being mostly ignored with the exception of the film Alien Covenant. But how exactly do they see? What do they see, and what are the mechanisms that allow them to do so? So first of all, we should probably cover all the times we have seen their point of view, or evidence of their visual perception mechanisms. First up, I would probably like to mention first that the instance we see in the film Alien Covenant with the protomorph creature, we actually supposedly get to see the world through an almost insect-like segmented visual representation. The thing is that though we in the film see this as the mechanism for achieving sight, we don't know what part of the electromagnetic spectrum is actually being viewed by the creature. It is hard to determine, considering humans cannot perceive anything outside the visual range. The only real factor we can draw on from the protomorph is that it must have multiple receptor segments or areas that when they receive all their light, they send it to the brain and it forms a singular image. The problem is that a protomorph's possible vision is not actually maybe what a xenomorph sees. So now I'll have to explore the two other examples, which actually pertain to the xenomorph itself. The second example I present is the xenomorph we see in William Gibson's Alien 3. In this, we don't see the point of view of a xenomorph featured, however, but we do actually see the creature's eyes. In this comic adaptation, we actually see that the particular creature featured has some kind of basic looking eyeballs within its skull, as the creature had not yet developed a dome over itself. Now, while you could also wrap up the conclusion here and the explanation here and just be like, yep, okay, they have eyes underneath their dome, I think it's important to remember that this xenomorph type was not a traditional one. It was not traditional in the sense that it was formed through transforming a human body into a xenomorph via a currently unknown and unexplored process. So it's likely that these eyes were just remnants from the human transformation and eventually would have just dissipated. As we even see with the warrior xenomorphs, that they don't have eyes on the top of their more rigid domes. They just have these little pits, which I'll come back to very soon. This creature from the William Gibson's Alien 3 being something akin to a protomorph-like creature, where they are both created out of human parts. And so again, we are at a loss, also considering that the Alien 3 comic is a non-canon comic that is not actually the same timeline as the actual current Alien Universe canon. The final example we have is where we can actually start to get some results from our thought experiment. In the canon material of Alien 3, during the events of the film, we actually finally get to see a true blue xenomorph's point of view. If it's its actual vision though, like I don't know whether this is just a camera position, like sort of in front of the xenomorph, or whether we're looking through its eyes. During the scene down in the Leadworks, we witness a daring chase between the prisoners of Fury 161 and a lone drone xenomorph. As the xenomorph pursues them through the narrow hallways of the facility, we actually get to see its point of view, and possibly even a form of how the creature sees the world. During the scene, we follow the xenomorph as it moves around the walls and the hallways as it chases the prisoners. We see a slightly distorted version of normal human vision. However, I pose to you that this is not exactly how this scene is working. In our Alien 3 example, we see that the xenomorph's vision is seemingly less detailed than our own. Now, while I do believe that this is probably the closest example of xenomorph vision, the thing to remember about this depiction though is that the vision that we are seeing is not the real thing and is likely more a representation of the real thing. What do I mean by that? Well, let me explain. The human eye works by detecting light via a collection of photoreceptors in the back of the interior of the eyeball. However, humans only have the ability to see in a specific area of the electromagnetic spectrum, which we know as light or electromagnetic energy. Humans can only see within a certain wavelength of these photons. In simple terms, we can call the wavelength of light we can see the visible spectrum, which is between 390 and 750 nanometers in their length. This would mean that even when we are viewing the Xenomorph's vision, we are more than likely not seeing the full picture, while this picture, as the Xenomorph itself, may be able to detect light in other ranges and at different lengths in the EM spectrum, so it would see a very different image to what a human would perceive. It's possible that the Xenomorph may see in many various parts of the EM spectrum, and therefore see light that is invisible to the human eye. For a creature like the Xenomorph, this makes a lot of sense. We know little to nothing about where the Xenomorph first evolved. However, it's likely that it's nowhere near the same environment as humans did here on Earth, and therefore the traditional visible spectrum of light may not be as useful. This would mean that a Xenomorph does not have a traditional eye. Instead, they would have a collection of bundles of unique and varying types of photoreceptive cells, lacing the interior of its dome structure, that allow it to see in many different areas of the electromagnetic spectrum, such as in infrared, or heat, ultraviolet, etc., etc. Basically, what I'm saying is, while in the chase scene we see a human perception of the vision is shown in normal colour, that's not how the creature perceives it. Instead, the Xenomorph could see almost a combination of different wavelengths that humanity or humans biologically cannot detect, due to us only possessing two types of photoreceptive cells known as rods and cones. Something I also think that the creature may be able to do is change the area of the EM spectrum that it is able to detect. This would make a lot of sense, as if the creature chooses to hunt in a well-lit environment, then it's like human perception, they can see the visible spectrum. However, it would also be helpful that if they were hunting in the dead of night, they can almost flip a switch in their brain and their vision changes to essentially heat vision, which is seeing infrared light, which would be far more effective in dark areas. Now we have got that out of the way, let's explore the actual structure of how this would work a little. So we have to come to realise that the Xenomorph does not have eyes, as well as we know. So we have to come to realise that the Xenomorph does not have a traditional eye. Instead, they have photoreceptive cells scattering the frontal dome in little collections. To better understand this, we actually can compare this to a creature here on Earth named the pit viper. The pit viper is a species of snake that earns its name from its unique ability to sense infrared light without the use of its eyes, but instead with thermal pits. It is actually thought to be able to create a mental image within its brain by overlaying its traditional vision with its eyes and the thermal pits, creating a sort of double layered vision so they can see in infrared and in the visible spectrum. The pit viper is a nocturnal hunter, and so over the many millions of years of its evolution, it has developed a rather interesting way of seeking in the dark. Instead of trying to grow bigger eyes to capture more sparse light during the night, the pit viper has instead evolved a collection of infrared heat-sensitive pit organs on its face. These pits are actually full of types of photoreceptive nerve cells that specifically detect light in the infrared area of the electromagnetic spectrum. This means that the snake's two types of visions can be used at the same time: a weak form of regular human vision and the heat vision. Both utilised together at night make the snake a formidable predator to its prey. The mechanism is what I think the Xenomorph is most likely using, as eyes and thermal pits are basically just different renditions of the same thing. They're both used to detect electromagnetic energy or light in its different forms. So I feel the Xenomorph would just have big collections of different pockets of these photoreceptive cells. Each one might detect a different spectrum of light, and they may be able to choose between which ones they are seeing and even overlap different ones to get the best version of vision in different environments. All just going to show again that the Xenomorph is the perfect organism. The translucent dome seen on most Xenomorphs could also act as a lens or a focus to focus the light being projected onto their skulls where the photoreceptive cells would lie. However, this is merely speculation on my part, and there is no reason to think that they don't have some other kind of biological process for depth perception and light focusing. Before I go, I just wanted to let you guys know about the merch store called ACHERON's Colonial Marketplace. Here you can pick up a variety of ACHERON and alien themed merch from 3 distinct product lines, including shirts, hoodies, mugs, blankets, stickers, bags, and even phone cases. So if you want to support the channel and look good doing it, pick up some ACHERON merch. But what other videos would you guys like to see? If you have any ideas or have any questions you would like answered, please meet me down in the comments. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like and go check out Project ACHERON on Twitter and Discord. If you want to support me further, you can become a patron where you can get access to early and behind the scenes content, the monthly and Alien Day giveaways, as well as the patron only engraved set of items. I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Until then, this is Project ACHERON, signing off.